Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Good afternoon.
Hi, Doc.
Hey, good afternoon.
How are you?
Very well. Thank you. Nicole, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Yes,
Very well. Good to see you. Thank you for connecting.
thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here and talk about this great subject.
Great. Great. How's Switzerland today? How's the weather and everything there?
It's getting cold. it's,
Uh,
it's getting cold here. We are full in the autumn, and yeah, and some days are colder than others. When the sun is shining, it's beautiful to have these autumn walks.
uh-huh.
Uh,
That's great. That's
lovely.
great. It's good to see you. Good evening. Good afternoon. Sorry, sorry, you are breaking. You are breaking. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Mr. Water.
Hello, doctor.
Yes, how are you?
Fine, doctor. How are you doing?
Very well. Good to see you.
Me too. Long time.
Long time. Thank you. Tsitsi, is your audio okay now? Not really. Okay, I see my Manu. Greetings and how are you?
I'm fine, Doc. Sorry, let me change my name.
No, not a problem.
It's Wimbai.
Wimbai, good to see you. Good to see you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Uh-huh. So Nicole, we are the organization leadership and development network, and we are a community of scholars and practitioners who are mainly focused on the field of organization development and leadership and governance. So we have approximately 150 members currently who we engage on conversations regarding leadership, governance, but mainly founded on organization development. And we have been in existence since 2018, but the membership structure started fully this 2020. And we are still building the capacity of members in that area, and mainly focusing on global intelligence, where we are saying members need to be globally intelligent with respect to their engagement. And I've been dealing with you since 2018, and I sincerely appreciate the support that you give to small boys like us. It's something that we really appreciate, and we do look forward to continued engagement in that respect. And we have different sections of what we are trying to achieve, but our mission really is to create a platform for members to engage in insightful conversations, members to practice leadership rather than just preach leadership. We have seen, especially from Africa and from Zimbabwe, where I come from, and most of the people who are currently here, a lot of deficiencies in terms of leadership, deficiencies in terms of governance. And people are good at preaching leadership and preaching governance, but without that actual practice of it. So learning from people like you and having you as part of us is humbling as we try to entrench those values on the practice of leadership. So we focus on competency-based networking, where we need members to develop their skills in the different areas of engagement, and ensure that transformational impact that comes through collaborative capital and people working together in that respect. So we have different segments that we have created because we have members coming from different backgrounds. We have members in education, we have members in manufacturing, we have members in executive coaching, we have women. I think you saw the women initiative in Afghanistan. So we are trying to capture the different members through appealing to their areas of practice, cognizant of the fact that a lot of professionals we see today, they are in the routine of going to work every day, but there is nothing really tangible or transformational that they are bringing in their professions. So we are looking at a situation where we engage members to be of real impact and transformational in their different engagements. And we'll be reaching out to you mainly in terms of the executive coaching and consulting aspect of the OLDN. And probably Kurai will arrange a session for the women leaders in Zimbabwe. And we'll be glad to have you as well facilitate that and in other chapters that we have. So we are focusing on raising the standard of organization development globally and trying to make that global impact. And we are being supported by the International Society for Organization Development and Change in the United States. And we are also looking forward to have the Nicole Heimann and Partners logo on all of our engagements, subject to your approval as we strengthen and deepen this collaboration.
Yeah.
So we engage in all these activities, and we would want to find a way to collaborate in ways that are transformational and bring real results in the communities and societies that we engage. So I will ask Tsitsi, before we give you the stage, before we give Kurai and yourself the stage, to also highlight some of the learning points that we have gotten from this interaction. Tsitsi, Mr. Walter, and Wimbai, then I will hand over to Kurai. Tsitsi.
I think Titi is no longer there, Doc.
Tsitsi is not there. Okay,
Yes.
we'll start with Jane, Jerry.
Yes, Doc.
The learnings that you have gotten from the network and just a welcome message to Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Jane.
It's nice to meet you. My name is Jane. I'm from Kenya, but currently based in Abu Dhabi, UAE. Personally, since I joined the network, it has helped me to expand my thinking. I've realized that I've moved from narrow thinking to wider thinking, and I'm always looking forward to learn, and we're happy to have you here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wimbai.
Thank you, Doc. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you today. Looking forward to learning and to be impacted this afternoon. Ever since I joined the OLDN network, I've learned a lot as a leader and as a person, as well as in the community. So I must say I'm being taught the aspect of balance as a leader and as a person from the conversations that we had. We had some conversations on social entrepreneurship, how to be of impact even in the community. We also had conversations on self, how I can build myself and how I can use myself to be of impact and to make a difference. So just to mention a few, but I must say I'm benefiting a lot from the network. And now that also the segments that we have been put into is also helping me to focus and to see how I can be of impact in my context. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Walter.
Yes, Doc, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Fine. I'd like to greet everyone. Thank you so much for having me today and to have this meeting. I've learned a lot from this program since we have started. And I also won an award which makes me more motivated to be on this team and to learn more. And I've learned a lot of things from all around the globe because of members who are on this platform. Thank you so much, and may God bless you all, and may you continue to support this platform, and let's move forward, and let's continue to interact, to have more interactions, and also to teach one of each and every one of us, so that we will learn and will reach greater heights together. As a team, we will win. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you so much. Over to you, Miss Kurai.
Thank you, Doc, for that. I think we always have a saying at ODLN, and we always talk about igniting insightful conversations, and I think this is one of them that we are doing, and we're very happy to have you, Nicole. I think just to say that I think to start us off, people will be joining in as we go along. I can see that Emmanuel has just joined us. So I see people will continue to join us as we go along. I think to start us off, just to ensure that we all make the best use of our time, we should just remember to put our mics on mute so that we ensure that there are no disruptions, especially when our guest is making her presentation. And then just encourage people to use the chat box for comments and questions that they may have as we go along with the presentation. So today's discussion is creating a deeper transformation and authentic leadership perspectives. I will not really say anything because I'm not a guru in that. But Mahatma Gandhi once said, live as if you were to die tomorrow and learn as if you were to live forever. So we are here to learn. And I think that is a very important aspect for each and every one of us here. And, you know, I can't remember who said this, but it has been said that it is good to have mentors and role models, but we need to remember to remain authentic, our authentic selves. And I'm sure no one knows that better than you, Nicole. I will introduce our speaker. And our speaker is Nicole Heimann, as Dr. Justin has highlighted. She's Belgian, and she has been living in Zurich for the last 20 to 23 years thereabout. And she's a well-renowned international speaker and award-winning executive coach and an author on authentic leadership. Her book on how to develop authentic leader in you has been one of the best lists, has been on the best 28 list on outstanding recent books, which is more of leader by leader author review. And then it is also part of the 33 best books you haven't heard of, so which is good. And then she's been honored with several awards, one of them by her mentor, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, who has honored her as a leading global coach award in 2019. And then she's also been recognized by the International Federation of Learning and Development as one of the top 20 trainers of 2020. So, I mean, what more can you expect? We're very, very, very well represented today. And then in December 2020, this year, she'll be receiving a Global Excellence Award in Chicago in the United States of America. She's also the founder and CEO of Nicole Heimann and Partners AG. It's a boutique executive advisory firm that is based in Switzerland. And then they focus on transforming executives and organizations by building leadership alliances. And I think she'll speak more into these, what leadership alliances, because I mean, some of us, it's the first time that we're hearing this. So it would be good to appreciate what a leadership alliance is, or maybe some of us do know what it is, but it's more insight on that would be quite good. And then she's also the co-founder and board member of Brilliance, Heimann and Friends Foundation, which empowers children in need through education. And they've done quite a lot of work in countries like Ethiopia. And I think it's important because you need to catch them while they're young. It's always said that if you groom them when they are young, they will implement that when they grow up. And that's one of the things that we would want. And we're happy that you're doing that as a foundation. And then I think she's a well-rounded person. So I'll leave her to begin her presentation, which will center around authentic leadership perspectives. So I'll hand over to you, Nicole. Please feel free. I'm sure Doc has enabled you to be able to share your screen for your slides.
Okay, well, thank you for this wonderful introduction, Kurai, and thank you, Justine, for inviting me here. I'm delighted to share perspectives today with your community, and I very much enjoy our cooperation over the years. So thank you for that. I have a request. Even if this is virtual, I would like us to imagine that we are sitting together in a circle in a room. And I would love it if you could put your videos on so that I can see you and not only hear your beautiful voices. Yeah, I think it makes such a difference when we can see each other.
Yes, definitely it does. It
Yeah.
does. Other colleagues, Jane, Mr. Walter, Emmanuel, if you can turn on your videos. But we must note that some of the colleagues, maybe their network might be a bit difficult for them to turn on the videos, but I think all those that can will do so.
Thank you so much, and so lovely to see you. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. Today's title is Creating Deep Transformation and Authentic Leadership Perspectives. So before we really dive into it, I wanted to just take a moment and stand still with what is a perspective. And I just looked it up in the dictionary, the Merriam-Webster, and it's defined as a mental view or a prospect, or the interrelation in which a subject or its parts are mentally viewed, and also the capacity to view things in their true relationship and relative importance to each other. So let's take this in just for a moment, the consciousness, this awareness that a perspective is a mental view, and what this could mean for us. So the second part is authentic leadership. So if we take a look into that, there are many definitions from authentic leadership. And I decided I'll give you mine. So authenticity is a dynamic process of constant evolution into a better version of yourself. And leadership is the choice, the conscious choice that goes hand in hand with taking responsibility for the impact we have and for the world we create. So there's a lot of misconceptions around authenticity, and I'd just like to take a moment to speak to that, because if somebody says to me, well, I'm emotionally impulsive, I have my outbursts, that's who I am, and people have to take me the way I am, that's not what I understand with authenticity. That's not undertaking responsibility for your impact you have on others. That is pure unconscious behavior. And that's a different thing from choosing to be authentic and trying to be always the next best version of ourselves. And this process goes together with a lot of reflection, introspection, and awareness. And that is when we start to lead and live a more conscious life. So today I'm going to offer you 5 perspectives, 5 mental views that are also interrelated. And I hope they will give you insights for the deep transformation that becomes possible when we choose to start a journey of authentic leadership. So let's look at the first perspective. And you see this beautiful window. And I would like to invite you all to look through this window. And as we look through this window together, I'm going to take you into an imagination of 2 different views of the world. And as we do this, I would like you to be your own observer. So if I take you in one scenario, I invite you to identify with it. Just let's play with those 2 scenarios and observe how this feels in your body, how this feels or what you think when I take you into 2 different scenarios. So if you want, you can close your eyes if that makes it easier to identify with those scenarios. So if we look out of that window and we look into the world, we can see 2 versions of the world. And here comes the first one. We see a world where everything is separated. It's all about me, myself, and I. People here are looking for what can I get? What's in it for me? The focus is on everybody can fend for themselves. I just take care of myself and that's my only interest. Our way of survival is one of competition, power, and dominance. Relationships are not so healthy. People can be nice into our face and then put a knife in our back. They turn around. We have hidden agendas, we have toxic interactions, and we can't trust each other. The relationship with our environment is such that we're not interested in the global consequences. I do my thing over here and we don't care. Our view of responsibility is just on ourselves. This is what happens in a world where we see things in isolation and where we believe that everything is separated. Before I go to the next scenario, I just want you to become aware what you feel in your body, what you are thinking. Just notice without judging. Then we look out of this beautiful window again, and we see a world where everything is connected. Yes, it's about me, but it's also about we, about us, about the society, about the planet. We're looking for what can I give, what can I contribute? And our focus is on we're in this together. Everybody takes care of each other. We also take care of ourselves, but also of each other. Our way of survival is one of cooperation, open communication. Relationships are healthy interactions. We can count on each other. We can talk to each other. We have a purpose around which we are connected, something that is bigger than ourselves. And we create intentional relationships. Our relationship with the environment is we are aware that everything is interconnected in an ecosystem, that my decisions here have an impact over there. Our view of responsibility is on the whole, also of self, but also on the whole. So these are the views and realities when we see a world where everything is connected. And just feel into your bodies what this has generated inside of you, what you are thinking. So who felt a different experience with these two imagined perspectives? Can you raise your hand if you had a different experience?
Yes. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay, I saw there's a hand up. There was a hand up. Someone raised a hand.
No, you can go ahead, Doc. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah, so what I pick is the different perspectives where in one end, you are seeing things in isolation. And on the other end, you're seeing things as interrelated, an ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see things as isolated, I feel there is some sense of loneliness that you have. And there is some frustration and pressure that you have to try to bring everything together. But when you have a sense of collaboration, things are interrelated, things are connected, there is that sense of calmness that comes with saying, I have others around me and I have support network around me. So probably things are fine because I'm not alone in all this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, did you also have different experiences in these different scenarios? Could you feel this?
I think for me, it was more of, the first scenario was more of a narrow mind. You know, there's the silo and you're just, you know, there's no progress. You're just looking in one direction. And whereas with the second scenario, it was broader. And I felt that, you know, you are involved, you're part of something, you know, you are making some sort of contribution. And I think that makes the difference between the first scenario and the second scenario. And I think which is something that is very important. So that broadness and instead of that narrowness is something that we often have to deal with, I think.
Yeah, beautifully described. And I would like to take the next slide here. This is from so this is research from Dr. Bruce Lipton, that the moment we change our perception, so the way we see things, or the moment we change our perception is the moment we rewrite the chemistry in our body. So depending on how we see things, this has an impact on what we experience. And this, of course, impacts how we feel, how we will act, and how we will move on. So we have a choice. Usually we don't take time to think about what's our view of the world, but we have a choice. How do we see it? Do we have a view that is most of the time one of connected, or is it most of the time one of separation? So this is the first perspective that I want to offer you to build your own thoughts on. Let's move on to the second one. So now that we just looked outside of the window, we all know that our eyes are the windows to our soul. So I would like to invite us to go and take a look inside. I know it's hard to look into our own eyes, but let's imagine we can. So we all have our soul energy, our essence, our true authentic self with which we are born. When we are born, we are pure essence, we are purely authentic. And then life happens. We get educated, we go to school, we grow up in an environment, we grow up with our parents, our grandparents, and we become conditioned. No, you can't be like this, you have to be like that. No, you can't do this, you have to do that. So the whole time as we grow up, we are conditioned and we make experiences. And these can be painful, this can hurt us. So without knowing it and without thinking about it, we started building a wall to protect our beautiful essence. And this wall starts to separate us from ourselves. And from this wall, it's also difficult to really connect with others. So in this wall, we find ego parts, we find pride, we find anger, we find old wounds, we find false belief systems that sabotage us. So there's a lot in that wall, and we all have one. This is part of our human experiences. This is part of our growth. So when we talk about power, when we looked out of the window just 30 seconds ago, we had a view on what power means when we have a view of everything is separated or everything is connected. The same here. Power in itself is neutral. If we connect with our inner power, with our essence, we are inspirational leaders. We are attractive. We radiate. If we connect power from the wall inside of us, we get leadership from ego, and that becomes then forceful. That becomes more brutal. That becomes leading from separation, because we are tapping into these elements that we've put into our wall that are not our true authentic self. And without conscious work, we start identifying with the wall. We start believing that this is us. And we lose touch with our core, with our essence. So the energy of inner power is very subtle. It's very attractive. It's very inspirational. And the energy that we get when someone leads from the wall is much more tough. It's isolating, it's separating. So leading from our authentic self connects and brings people together. And leading from the wall leads to separation. So this is the second perspective that I want to give you. So the first one was looking out of the window outside, world views. The second one is looking through the windows to our soul and recognizing what is inside of ourselves. So then the question becomes, perspective number 3, how do we reclaim our inner power? Because a journey of authenticity is really a journey of becoming aware of everything that we've put into that wall and unlearning, going back, reconnecting back to the essence of who we are. So to do that, we need to go through a door of awareness. And that really is the conscious choice to do this inner work and to take time for our authenticity. And to go through the door of awareness, we have two powers, and those two powers are the power of observation and the power of focus. And those two are skills. We can train them, we can learn them. So, because everybody can learn to observe and to focus, this makes the path of authenticity available to anyone who wants it. So what do we mean with observing? It's just like one example, one application is the little exercise we just did when I took you in the two scenarios to observe what's going on inside of you without judging. So we learn to observe with some connected distance and the quality of non-judgmentalness. Really noticing what is. For instance, if we notice and observe drama, when we have an active observer, we create a choice for ourselves to reflect how to react towards what is going on. And if we don't have this observer quality active, the chances that we will jump and react and be part of the drama are very high. So developing this quality of observing, being connected, but with a little distance that allows us and creates the space for us to reflect on our actions is one of the skills that we need to really reconnect back to our essence. And the second skill is the skill of focus. And here we talk about focused intention and focused action. So the power of intention is as old as humanity, I think. And there is research that shows that when we connect with an intention, it has the same reaction in the brain as when we go into action. So why do we say, let's combine focused intention and focused action? Because again, intention comes from deep inside. If you really want something, if you really want to create something, like if I think of you, Justine, with the network that you are creating and the whole OLDN community and chapters, I'm sure that deep inside you are connected to a very strong intention of creating something beautiful and big. And then comes your focused action. Then you start creating, connected to that intention. So that is the quality of focus that we want to develop. And this is a skill. Anyone can develop it. So I will come back to this model a little bit later on. I want to go from here, from observing and focusing as skills, to the process of integration with which we develop authentic leadership. And that is the model that I've called integrating the 7 dimensions of leadership. So the 7 dimensions, we talk about physical intelligence, emotional intelligence, heart intelligence, pragmatic intelligence, communication intelligence, neuroscience intelligence, and consciousness intelligence. And in the first picture, you don't see it very well, but you see a smaller circle with the 7 dimensions and an outer circle. So the outer circle is the symbol of the wall. And what we see a lot in corporations is that a lot of leadership doesn't happen from the inner power. It still happens from ego, and then it becomes forceful. So why is this happening? Or how do we get back to this inner power? It is by carefully looking at each of our 7 dimensions. Let me take an example with the heart intelligence. Most of us, or all of us, we've all been hurt by love at one point in our lives. And, it's possible that after a painful experience, you took a conscious or an unconscious decision that never again will somebody hurt me like this. In that moment, we close our heart. In that moment, we build a wall around our heart intelligence and we disconnect to protect. We think it's an illusion, but we think we need to do this to protect ourselves. And maybe in that moment we do. And there comes a point that we no longer need this protection. And with conscious work on looking at these elements, we can realize, you know, I needed that in that moment, but I don't need it anymore. And by doing that, we can set free our own heart intelligence again. Because the heart, for instance, has more neurons than the brain. It has a brain. For instance, there is a story, or it happened real. A girl who got a heart transplantation from another girl, and that had an accident and died. And the operation went well, the heart transplantation went well, but weeks after that, the mother went to a psychiatrist with the girl because this girl was constantly having dreams of being murdered. And the psychiatrist took the girl to the police. And thanks to the descriptions of the dream of what this girl was seeing, they could find the murderer of the girl that lost her life, to whom belonged the heart. So just to say the heart has intelligence, and we can tap into that intelligence. We can feel into the intelligence of the heart. In leadership, in companies, when we have to take important decisions, the mind, we can tell ourselves stories. We can tell ourselves stories to feel good. The mind can trick itself. But if we feel into the intelligence of the heart, what the heart would do, if we feel into the body where there is resistance, what information is coming, our information to take a decision becomes much more expansive. And we get different informations from the different intelligences. And that is how integrating these 7 intelligences really works. It's being aware of the wall that we build around it, not judging it, because we all do it and there were good reasons for doing it at a time. Realizing that we don't need it anymore and repositioning the wall. So in the second image, you see that this wall got inside of the circle. What does it mean? The wall is no longer in power. We have connected, we have integrated our back to our intelligences, the 7, and we can observe the wall. We now know the difference between what's in the wall, when is my ego part talking, and I know I don't want to give my power away to the ego. So reconnecting back to our authentic self and deciding to lead from there. So that is really the process of integration and working with the 7 dimensions of leadership intelligence. It's very hard to destroy the wall. I mean, that would bring us to a state of enlightenment. That's a lot of work, that's a lot of searching, and that's not what we aim to do. But we do like to bring people back in touch with their inner power and know the difference between the energy of the energies in the wall and not give them the power anymore and lead from connected to their inner power. So this takes me back to this image where we started with the powers of observation and focus. These two skills are needed to get access to this process. Then we go into the integration of the 7 dimensions of leadership intelligence. And when we are in touch with our authentic self, with our essence, we can tap into our inner resources of creativity, of wisdom, and trust. And creativity, wisdom, and trust is not something we can really learn. It's a resource. It's something to tap into and get access to. And every leader would like access to his inner wisdom, trust, and creativity, because that's where flow also happens. And personally, I believe that to create a better world, to solve the complexity of the problems that we have today, we need more wise, creative, and trustful leaders. We need more leaders who are connected to their inner wisdom, because that's where they will take the decisions to do the right thing. And the right thing, we can feel it. We know when something is right, and we know when something is wrong. So there's a much higher level of integrity that comes when we really start to connect with our own authenticity. So what radiates is really the realness and the truth. So people who are authentic will be much more connected to realness and truth. And this truth is their inner truth. Their actions will be in line with their inner truths. So the last perspective that I want to offer is if every individual takes time to do his or her inner work and become more of who we are, we have the power together to create a more conscious and a more peaceful world. That's the potential of authentic leadership. And I think we all know there's still a lot of work to be done. Yeah. So I hope with these perspectives that I have inspired you to maybe think differently or expanded your views on authenticity and leadership. And I'm curious to hear your questions or your thoughts or how you feel about this. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I think one of the things that I liked when I was just researching about you, and it has been said that your coaching style is deep, it's dynamic, it's transformative, and further to this, it's non-judgmental, and it's guided by the values of honesty, integrity, respect, as well as openness. And I think there was Dr. Hagan who said she authentically embodies her message and inspires everyone in the room with her present, style, and charisma. And I think you've done that today, and with the two perspectives that you shared. And I think that is a very, very important thing that you've shown us, because I think we don't normally look at things like that, or we don't normally see things like that. I think for me, I loved when you started with the authenticity, and I think that constant for evolution in to be a better version of yourself. And I think we always say wine gets better by the day or by the year and stuff like that. And if you look at from wherever we started, because we all started from somewhere, we've gotten better and we've been able to see how we've evolved, you know. And I liked the aspect where you're saying building a wall that separates us from ourselves. And, you know, we're born authentic, but as we go along life, we build that wall. And I think I'm guilty of that because, you know, you start have fear creeping in, you start having all these different things that then play and that sort of then block you so you can't activate those keys that you're talking about. And I loved the fact that you talk about when you talk to, you know, the door of awareness, and when you said, when you activate the keys, there's the power of observation and focus. And I think others that listened to you will also speak onto what they enjoyed and what they liked. But for me, it was more of the focus part where there's the intention. But we so very often end at the intention and we don't action what we say, what we want to do, you know, or just go beyond that. And I think that is a lot of things that go on. So I'll just open up to the floor if people can just, I think there's no one that has mentioned anything in the chat box as present, but
Yeah,
just for, hello?
yes, hello.
Yes. Oh, Dr. Jegede, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for the invitation.
Fine. Okay. Would you like to contribute something? Thank you.
Okay, Madam Nicole, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much. How are you?
We've been communicating on LinkedIn and I've been looking forward to this day.
Yeah,
Even though I've been down twice, but I've made it a necessity to attend today and I've been looking forward to it. So I try as much as possible to jot down, but do I say to comprehend all you've told us or taught us today, they were too much for me to capture them because I was writing as we were saying then I was writing. So maybe I have to play this over again so that I can comprehend a whole lot. But though I joined late, but I've learned quite a number of things. And allow me to quickly bring you down to my country, Nigeria. And I'm very sure you are also aware of the recent protests that has led to quite a number of international reactions in my country. You made mention of something very critical about emotional intelligence, communication intelligence. So the first question I'm going to ask is, how do we build effective communication intelligence as leaders? And secondly, the current government in my country seems to have lost the touch. And you extensively spoke about active observer. And while I was listening to you, I began to understand, okay, these are the gaps that we have. Because the youth represents 95% of our population. And they don't have trust in the government. And when the government tries as much as they can to respond to some of the grievances in the nation, such as poor governance, underdevelopment, high rate of unemployment, poverty, and corruption. Nigeria is the most corrupt Black country in Africa and beyond Africa. Now, how do we, because we have been asking for a change in government. In fact, the youth want the whole system or the whole people or those above 60 years to step down while the youth come in. But does that necessarily signify that even if we come in, we will still lead the country to prosperity? Some of us, we have been speaking with some of these government representatives in various authorities and places. Now, how do we, as agents of change, begin to influence people in power to understanding the importance of active observation so that when every leader in our country is able to rebuff himself, because you said a whole lot of things, and I am going to play this to as many as I can come in contact with. How do we influence them? These are my questions.
Well, very deep questions. So my expertise is really in corporations with leaders, with executive teams, not in politics. I am aware that the kind of problems that you are speaking to are huge. It will not be an easy transformation. And sometimes it takes one person. If I think, for instance, of Nelson Mandela, the transformation that he led, very authentic from inner power. He had this ability to observe the realities for what they are, non-judgmental, and do the right thing, take the right action, very connected to wisdom. So one person in the right place can make the whole world different. So there is always hope. I heard you, Dr. Jegede, and I'm not going to pretend that I have an answer. I'm aware of the level of corruption, and we can only hope that there will be one inspiring leader who has the courage to step into this authenticity and wisdom and lead a change. We've seen that in the past and in history before, and that is possible. It also takes hunger, inner hunger, for people wanting to become more of who they are. And power and corruption is sometimes hard to let go of for some people, at least if they have never experienced what it means to be connected to inner power, because it's much more fulfilling and it leads to a much more happy life. So I'm, in all humbleness and honesty, I mean, I don't have a ready-made answer how to change the situation in Nigeria, but I hope I could inspire you with some ideas. And each of us can make a difference. I think that is the other important thing. If we each take responsibility for who we are and inspire the people around us, that creates waves too.
Yes.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And I must appreciate you for taking us in this direction of a leadership conversation. In most instances, when we talk of leadership and when we talk about these issues, we do a lot of chattering that we see on social media, but without that connecting with self. I will ask you to go back to that slide where you have the look inside, the perspective on looking inside and creating that wall. Yes, that one. Yes, this is a serious dilemma that we have in leadership, and that most of us, I think we can say all of us here, have these walls of ego, these walls of pride, and this is where the source of conflict that Dr. Dotun, of corruption that Dr. Dotun is mentioning, comes from. The wall that we have built around ourselves and our systems. And very few people can talk into these walls to like ensure that we open that door of awareness. And it takes a lot of courage to speak into these walls. And they are so attractive. It's so attractive to have this pride, to have this ego. And this is what we see in our leaders at organizational level, even at family level. Mm-hmm. And it also is something that is affecting our self-leadership. And the more we have conversations around observation and focus with intention, and that focus that you indicate that leads to action, the more we'll be able to work on this. I understand you call this a protective wall that people put around themselves. But how are we going to enhance that? The communication intelligence that Dr. Dotun has been talking about, and the emotional intelligence. A lot of these leaders have had these conversations, and that's where I'm going to ask you to respond. A lot of the leaders we see, even at organizational level, they know about emotional intelligence. They know about communication intelligence and all these 7 dimensions of intelligence. But surprisingly, we don't see change or the implementation that we look forward for from them. You have experience of working with a lot of these leaders. Where is the missing link in terms of the understanding of the intelligence and the actual practice of that? And then we see transformational impact.
Yeah. So I think an important link is really this quality of observing. If I get to know better when I'm in my wall, for instance, in terms of communication, when I communicate from what we call in transactional analysis, the I'm okay, you are okay position, then I'm usually connected to my essence. We can communicate in cooperation, we can build on each other, we listen to each other, we are open. But when I go into the wall, which is I'm okay and you're not okay, or I'm smart and you are stupid, or they are too stupid to talk to, we are no longer in our essence energy. We are in ego, we are in positions where we feel better than the other, or we feel less than the other. That also happens, that we can go in a victim position. So as soon as we go into better than or worse than positions, we are no longer in our inner power where we are influential. And even if we try to control our communication, when we think it, when I feel better than someone else, this person will feel it, even if I don't say it. The energy is always in the room. And when this energy is there, we create separation. We cannot influence this person in a positive way anymore. Because every person wants to be seen, respected, and valued. And it's not because somebody has a different opinion that it makes them bad. It's okay to have different opinions. It's always one part of the truth. So if we are communicating from okayness, then we can talk to each other, work with each other, and to know where we are, because we are humans. We are not all the time in this I'm okay, you are position. Sometimes we get balanced off and then we experience, oh, how can this person think like that, or that's stupid. In this moment, the quality of our observer, I think, is the missing link that is needed to behave differently. Because if I can observe myself with, oh, I'm no longer connected with my essence energy, I'm now into my wall. As soon with this awareness, I can decide to reconnect with my essence energy from where I can be inspirational and influential. But without the quality of observing this inside of me, I cannot make a change. I hope this answered your question, Justine.
Yeah, sure. And before I'll give others a chance, then I'll come back with a follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
All right, colleagues, questions, comments on Nicole's presentations? I'm not seeing any hands raised.
I still have another question.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Jigede.
Sorry, as I earlier requested that, I'm sorry I couldn't share my visual because I'm on treatment. So please,
No problem.
kindly grant me that request. In the course of working with quite a number of my clients, I mean, I refer to the CEOs. Of recent, there have been quite a number of disconnection between the top and the middle. And sometimes some of these disconnections are as a result of misgivings. Some of these observations of the CEOs aren't so correct. And sometimes it comes also from the line managers, which are also more or less an assumption. Because when I go into private discussion, I say, okay, why do you think your line managers aren't driving the value? Why do you think they're not supporting you? Or why do you think they're not getting your point? You've actually commented on something like that in one of your posts. But for the purpose of this interaction, and also for me to be able to help my clients, how do we as consultants, how do we help our client develop active observations, particularly in working with their line managers in order to deliver value? Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So how do you help them to develop active observations? I do this sometimes very different. It depends on the clients, but it can be very playful. A playful way could be that you imagine that in your brain you have a little man that is sitting there all the time, like in a watchtower. And you connect with it and you start observing, you start scanning your environment, you start scanning inside of you what's going on, and you really train it. And the more you do it, the more your inner observer will expand and develop. And it also is a part of the brain that is involved. So you can trust your brain that it knows which part, and just use that image and make a habit of it, of constantly checking in with your little man in the watchtower. What's going on? Also scan the environment. What's the energy in the room? Where am I tense? Do you have often when we are stressed, and stress means we disconnect from others, we also feel it in the body. So by becoming more and more aware and observing, we can let go, we can relax, we can get back and reconnect back to the essence of who we are. Because when we are in our essence, we are relaxed, we are connected to sovereignty, to serenity, to our wisdom, to our creativity. So learning that quality is really important. So that's one tip on how you can work with clients to develop the inner observer. And you had another question on the disconnection between the top and the middle management?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I remember. So what is also a good exercise is when, I think you said, why do you see I didn't write down your exact words, the middle manager as not engaged, or how did you say it again?
Yes, so I mean, oftentimes you see the line managers don't get the CEOs right, and many times I could recall some instances I have to come in and say, okay, what is the problem? And then they say this is the problem. Then they say this is not the problem. So this disconnection is impacting on the bottom line, either in terms of growth or in terms of capabilities. So we are seeing it often, and they are undermining the potentials of the business. So how do we, I'm a consultant, so how do I help in this situation? I got the other point on how I can assist CEOs so that they can observe, they can become active observers. But now, breaching the gaps between them and their line heads, that's another area I want to help.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can only speak in theory now because I don't know the true coaching case and the true situation. But a good question to start with is always, is it true? Is this really true? And then what we believe, if I have a belief or an opinion about this line manager, then I will see the realities that serve my belief. So, for instance, you could ask this CEO to look for what are all the good things. If you believe this line manager is doing great things, what do you see? To get a balanced view, because what happens is so it's always worthwhile to change the view and invite them to look for all the good things, because it gives a different kind of information. And it's worthwhile to check into that. I'm not saying that the judgment is not true, but it's worthwhile to challenge it, because it is always possible that we only see what we believe and that everything else has been filtered out. So we want to get back what has been filtered out back into the whole picture, to get the whole picture and then take better decisions or have better conversations.
I would probably add to that in terms of connecting to our essence. And I will quote one of your sayings where you said, a leader does not engage in an inner growth process alone, but empowers the whole team to join on this journey.
Yes.
So the disconnect that Dr. Dotun is mentioning could emanate from a point where the leader is developing the inner growth process alone, and the other team members are not growing. So this is where then we see issues of execution, where we say we need to achieve $50,000 a week. This is the target that we are giving to the staff. But staff members are not connected to that. Though you as a leader, you see that $50,000 a week, we can achieve it, but the members are not connected to it. So you have gone through the inner process of growth. You have done your own assessments, you are satisfied, but your team is not satisfied. So to close that gap, the whole process of inner growth should include everyone in an organization. But that's the missing link in most organizations. And I would speak from Zimbabwe. CEOs, directors, they have their own process of inner growth and development, which all other employees are not involved in. They don't even know what is inside of them. And it brings us back to the issue of helping people to discover their potential. How many CEOs, I will ask Nicole to comment from the European perspective, how many CEOs do we have training their own employees about these issues, about realizing potential? We rarely see CEOs talking to their own employees in Africa. Why? And this is where the disconnect comes in. But if the CEOs, if the directors take the responsibility to develop their own employees, and then we have Nicole reinforcing that process, you would realize that we closed that gap. But a lot of our CEOs, they have that wall, that protective wall of pride. And they have a lot of baggage that they have with them. And I can't then sit with Wimbai as my subordinate and start coaching her leadership, which I am not practicing. So we need a process where the inner growth process should happen to everyone in the team and not only to the leaders or the executives. Maybe you can also add to that, because this is your quote. A leader does not engage in an inner growth process alone, but empowers the whole team to join in this journey.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's so important because I like to give the simple example of a couple in a marriage. If only one of the two starts working on development and starts going to workshops and expands and becomes more and more authentic, you create a gap. And it usually ends in tensions, separations, or divorce because they don't understand each other anymore. They see things differently. And it's the same in a team. If only the CEO would take executive coaching for himself, with the raising consciousness that will happen when you experience deep transformative coaching, you will create a gap with the rest of your team members if they are not involved. So that's why in our praxis, we are advocates of doing this together as a team, go through this development of authentic leadership together and learn to struggle each other and not fight against each other and support each other in the process, because it is a process and it's a beautiful one. It bonds on a very deep level because we connect more and more from the humanness of our being. And this is very, very strong. When decisions are taken for the sake of something that is higher than ourselves, that go beyond ego, you get true quality in corporations. And we need more of that. We need much more of that. Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of unraveling of walls that needs to be done in organizations and in other spheres of our lives. Colleagues, I don't know if anyone has any insights, questions, and just contributions on what they have learned today. I'll pick on you, Wimbai, just to say a few words on what you've learned today, and if you have any questions for Nicole.
Thank you, Kurai. Thank you, Nicole, for the very, I must say, life transforming sharing this afternoon. I'm being helped in terms of the walls, the walls. So I must say, the process of looking inside of me to reflect and to look for the walls that I have. And some of the walls, I wasn't aware that there are actually walls that hinder me from progressing. So this afternoon, it has been presented in such a way that I'm now on a journey to like destroy those walls. And I'm being helped, and I think it's a good thing that the aspect of walls has been mentioned, and also the whole drive for authenticity, becoming a better version of myself, which is what we are supposed to be aiming for. And this issue of intention and action, I think it's also something that I will build further. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Siti. Emmanuel, any contributions?
Morning. Thank you so much for this igniting conversation, Madam Nicole, Dr. Justin, and Madam Kurai. I would say, Madam Nicole touched so much on this concept of authentic leadership and being authentic to self, which is something that we, as the OLDN network, we want to always keep in mind as members of this community in whatever area we are into. I think she reminded me of this Japanese concept of ikigai, of say your reason of your reason of being. What is your why are you here as a leader? Why do you call yourself a leader? And then what are you doing to actually buckle up this the leadership position or the role that you are doing and whatever space that you're doing. The question that I'm trying to ask, I think it has been touched here by the quote that Dr. just mentioned there, that we are seeing a lot of challenge here in today's organizations, where we see actually not organizations only, even individuals, family levels in our whatever areas we're into. We are seeing this thing of me-centered. We are seeing more people becoming the I-centered people compared to being the we-centered. How do you now transition as a leader, transition from becoming a me-centered person to actually becoming a we-centered as in an organization or at a family level, so that everyone buys into the goal that you want to reach? I think that is the challenge that we see today. Most of us are not actually exposed to this thing of authentic leadership. We just know the word, but the deeper meaning of it is still a problem of it that we are still experiencing today. How do we move from being me-centered person to a we-centered person in whatever area that we're into?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I believe that it's not possible to shift from I to we without doing the inner work on authentic leadership, because it needs the awareness of I is bringing us in separation. It is connected to this worldview of isolation, and I just look after me, and we're not in this together. And when we do the work on authentic leadership, it is really going back to our nature. And if you look at nature, everything is connected. There is nothing in isolation. Silos are a human construct of the ego. It is not natural. So when we go back to this core, to the essence of who we are, we automatically align back to what is natural, and that is our natural state is connected to our essence, to life, to each other, to we. So I think it's really hard to shift people from I to we without building in authentic leadership work. Because it needs that awareness. When we go into our wall, we separate. If we don't allow communication, or we refuse to communicate, it's power games. It's from the wall. It's not from our essence and our powerful, authentic self. So every culture work that wants a real, true, sustainable shift, not a slogan on the wall, but really see the shift in people, there is no getting around doing authentic leadership work.
Thank you so much.
It's going back to what is natural, to our natural alignment. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Great question. A big one.
Thank you so much, Nicole, and thank you for answering that. I think one of the questions that I have for you is, there's so many types of leadership styles, and I think I want to find out, why do you think authentic leadership matters, and why is it that it's one area that you decided, you know what, this is the best way to sort of lead? Yeah. And then I think in my second question is that, I know you talked that there needs to be that, the alliances and the interconnectedness. And what if you're in an environment where, you know, that authenticity is, you know, people are, what's the word, you know, they're fighting it, you know, they don't want it to be there, you know. And I think Dr. Justin spoke to about it, that, and you even spoke earlier on where you say, you know, leadership does not happen without that inner power, and most of us are not with that inner power. So how do you deal in an environment where you're trying to practice that authenticity, but, you know, the forces around you are not working with you, you know? How do you, and it's at different levels that you can be at. I don't know if I'm, you know, making my question clear. Yeah.
So if you choose to stay in an environment that is toxic, I mean, first, make it a choice. Don't make yourself a victim of an environment that you find yourself in. And secondly, if you choose to stay there, depending on the toxicity that is in the culture, it will impact you. It will impact your energy. It will bring you down. It will take a lot of energy to stay true to yourself and stay in your authentic power when all around you is corruption in politics. So it takes that awareness, and then the choice becomes, who do you want to be? So are you willing to be true to yourself and be an example and an inspiration to others? Who do you decide to be, and where do you decide to lead from? Yeah, so these are elements to think about. And make your own choices, really. Yeah. Did I answer your question, Kurai, or?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And I think you said, you know, at the end of the day, it's the choice that you make, because it's not easy. Yeah. And I think the other question that I'd asked is, why does authenticity leadership matter? You know, there are many styles of leadership as well that are there. So why does this one matter?
I think for me, the purpose of authentic leadership is elevating consciousness. I don't see another way to elevate consciousness than through authentic leadership. So if more and more leaders and organizations and leadership teams step into authentic leadership, they will be connected to their wisdom and to doing what is right. So we are shifting from a world where everything was focused on profit and growth to a world where we, okay, maybe still need growth and profit, but also sustainability and awareness of the environment and of the planet. And if we want to create a more sustainable world for the generations to come, we do need wise leaders. We need responsible leaders. We need leaders that we can trust to do what is right and not to make the choices for the short-term profits. And as long as we keep leading from ego and from the wall, this will not happen. And that's why the more of us go on a mission to inspire others to step into authentic leadership, the more we all contribute to raising consciousness in this world, and this has the potential to lead to better choices, to more conscious choices, to a more peaceful world. And yes, I know it still takes a lot of work to be done, but each one of us makes a difference.
Yes, I will hold you there, Kurai. I have my student here. She's a first year student, and we call her an annoying student. And so she wants to share something regarding being selfless. Diane, over to you.
Hi, hello. Yeah, I call myself as an annoying person in our class. There's a reason why. So there was a question Doc asked me about is why being selfless is important as being a leader. For me, I'm a selfless person, so I can answer that. Being a selfless person help us to connect, to connect their emotions, to understand them more fully and successfully. Being selfless is more better than being rude, because if you're being rude as a leader, how would you even succeed as as a leader, or being called as a leader, when you're not even opening your mindset to every communication in your workplace? And being selfless and having connection with them, it will work and grow more bigger, and you can call that as a family, not just a group or a members. Being selfless help us to grow more, and other people's or our followers, they can show us, or they can pick us as a example for others, because you're a good leader. You want to be called as a good leader and a good member, not because you are great leader because you give their tasks. No, they call you that because you connect with them, you understand them, and being leader is everything that it is possible to do. And yes, that's my answer for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you. You're making me proud there. And I'll ask Nicole to comment on that. Thanks, Diane. Thanks, Diane. Yes, Nicole.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I cannot say yes, yes, yes. It's so beautiful, and it warms up my heart to hear you speak like this, because this is inspiring, this is inspirational, this is influential leadership. So beautiful. Thank you. She said everything. I don't need to add.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, she spoke very well. Nice. Thank you, Camille, for that. I think before I just ask whether anyone else has questions or any inputs, I'll just speak to some quotes that I thought were very quite powerful on authentic leadership. And it says, and I think Nicole has spoken to this very well, and it says, the power of authentic leadership is found not in the external arrangement, but in the human heart. And you really spoke to us about that during this course of this time. And then I think John Ryan, President, CEO of Center for Creative Leadership, has said, unless you are authentic, you're not really leading anyone. You know, who are you leading? You know, and I think Camila spoke to that as well, that if you're selfish and, you know, all those different things. And the last quote that I have here, it says, authentic leadership is transformational. It does not impose its perspectives on another, but it demonstrates the truth through relationships and being relatable. So I think it's very important that one should be relatable. And I think that ensures that there's some sort of change. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know if there are any more questions and additions within from the different. I think Titi had said she has bad network. Jane, what have you learned today? Do you have any questions for Nicole?
Sorry, my internet is a bit horrible today, but for me, what has popped out is that we need to look at the walls those are what that matter the most to us. And there's a point where Nicole mentioned that the moment we change our perception is the moment we change the chemistry of our body. For me, I believe that change starts with the mindset, and I think that aligns with that statement. Once my mind has agreed with everything, then everything will start following around me. Also, to put it into a more practical concept, I do a lot of running, and sometimes I feel like, no, I can't go out. The body wants to go, but the mind is the problem. But once I convince my mind, everything follows. So everything starts with our mind, and once our mind is in line with what we want, then we're able to become exceptional leaders. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful example. And yes, yeah, so important. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that one, Jane. Yes, and was a good example, because so much times it says the body is willing, but the mind is not. I don't know, colleagues, any more questions in the chat box? I don't think there have been any questions or comments that have been put.
Yeah, I'll go with an interesting quote again from Nicole. And she said, if we coach one successful CEO and we help him to get only 10% better, it has a huge impact on the organization. When we coach an executive team and each of them gets only 10% better, the impact on the organization is amazing. And I think most of us here are involved in coaching and mentorship of some sort. And I think this quote calls us to awaken with respect to how we engage in our coaching and mentorship activities. I speak mostly against a lot of the social media chattering that we see today, because much of that has not helped us in any way. So as OLDN members, and as we leverage on Nicole as a partner to our activities, we need to revisit the way we coach, the way we teach, the way we train, and realize that if we coach properly and we get that 10% that Nicole is saying, we will lead our organizations and our communities somewhere. But from where we come from Zimbabwe, this morning my wife went to an organization just to register someone to take a driver's a provisional test for driving school. That's to take an exam. She has gone there 3 times since last week. She wakes up at 3 a.m., drive there to wait in a queue just to register to take an examination. And someone is leading that organization. So when Nicole says we need wise leadership, it's something that we need to think critically, especially when we are developing people. How can an organization fail to register people and turn back people every day just for people to pay $20 and get a document, a receipt that says you are going to come and take your exam on the 15th of November? It takes years. And we have people leading such organizations. So the way we teach, the way we coach should not be about numbers. That's why some of us are not worried about crowds. We are worried about value created. And the reason why I have Diane here today is just to demonstrate some kind of leadership that we need to engage in. Last year, Nicole, if you remember, one student conducted you for a Women in Leadership session. And because of COVID-19, they could not proceed with that. And I will ask Diane to push you again this year to talk to the students from our center about women leadership and leadership. So Diane, don't ask me questions tomorrow. We want to see a leadership training and coaching that is transformational. And let us be advocates for that and move away from looking for crowds and fame and popularity and titles that we see in a lot of social media posts. So if we coach one successful CEO, we help organizations grow. If we coach an executive team, we have people like Dr. Dotun, who is involved in executive coaching, and they sit with a lot of executives. The impact should transform Nigeria. the impact should transform Africa. The impact should transform the entire world. So we need that mindset that says we are for transformation, and we are for transformation that emanates from the elevation of consciousness. And I think that's very important. If our leadership, our coaching and training elevates consciousness, we will be able to reach the transformational impact that we see in our organizations going forward. So we need wise leadership, we need responsible leaders, we need leaders who are trustworthy. And I'll throw that question back to you, Nicole, to say, where is the missing link? We have a lot of leaders, they have certificates. And today it's very easy to get an international coaching certificate. I don't know what is happening. If Wimbai wants an international coaching certificate, I will give her 2-3 days, she will get it. And she will post on LinkedIn, I am now an internationally certified coach. And today, if you want certificates, we see that on LinkedIn. People post about their postnominals, about their certificates every other day. But we are saying we need wise leaders. We need responsible leaders. We need trustworthy leaders. But what we see people posting and what we see on the ground, there's a mismatch, there's a disconnect. Where is the missing link? And from a coaching perspective, why is it that now it's easy for everyone to call themselves international coaches?
Well, the title of coach has never been protected, so everyone can call themselves a coach as without a certificate. And the International Coaching Federation has been doing great work to bring awareness to standards, to quality, to education, to certified coaches. So I think that's a good thing. And no certificate says something about the quality of your being. No certificate says something about the journey that a coach has been on themselves. Did you do your own inner work? Do you know what's in your wall? Who do you give the power to? It's a difference to coach from essence or to coach from ego. Here's how I look at it. There's no need to judge. Everybody is on a journey, and we are not all in sync. We are all on different journeys in our own rhythm and our own life experiences. And there is no competition because there is no competition in journeys we make. It is what it is. So as the coaching market is growing, we will see lots of things and ways that people want to draw the attention to their coaching services. And I believe that there is always a field of resonance. So clients who are attracted to me might not be attracted to another style of coach, and the other way around. We need diversity, we need a lot of offerings to have solutions that with which people can go in resonance what fits for them in that moment. So in that sense, it's all good. What is important is that you make your own choice of who you want to be, what kind of coach you want to be, what kind of inner work you want to do, and how you want to be inspirational, influential, and make a difference in this world. So, yeah, and I think if you focus on that and are connected to your wisdom, you will do exactly what is right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I think Okucho said we need to be creating transformational value. So that is quite good. And Jane said quality over quantity. So yeah, I think you said that we have a lot of work to do when it comes to being authentic leadership and being conscious of who we are as leaders. I think there are no more comments, and I will just ask once more if there are any questions, but I didn't see any questions. With that, I will say it's been a very insightful conversation. I don't know whether you have anything else to add, Doc.
Not from my end. Just to say thank you, I will ask Mr. Emmanuel to say thank you on my behalf to Nicole. I have dealt with Nicole since 2018 when I was writing my first book. And out of the many people that I approached, she's one person who responds. And now I tend to abuse that by always writing to her. But I really appreciate that. And as I indicated, I think I saw Mr. Salau is here. Mr. Salau is the coordinator of our executive coaching and consulting arm. He will be working on that, and he might reach out to you as the coordinator for the executive coaching and consulting arm of OLDN in terms of spearheading that. Mr. Salau, are you there? I will ask you to just say something before Mr. Emmanuel.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm around. I want to appreciate Nicole. I want to appreciate Kurai. It's been a wonderful time. I've learned and I've learned. Say we'll kickstart by the grace of God. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So Mr. Salau will be reaching out to you. I will continue to abuse the arm that you extended to us. But thank you so much for that. And others who are here as well, you can check Nicole's website for any collaborations that you think will help to broaden your institutions. She is open to that. And I think now if you say OLDN, she will understand where you're coming from. And we'll be using your logo, Nicole, and partners in our conversations, in a lot of our engagements.
Thank you.
And we appreciate that, and we hope this collaboration will help in broadening the mission that we have, and also the mission that you are serving. I will hand over to Mr. Emmanuel. He's our international director for Botswana. And I think it's also worth saying congratulations to those who graduated. Mr. Emmanuel is one of them who just graduated last week. And I saw pictures, Kurai and Sisi. I'm not sure whether it was a graduation or you are yet to graduate. I just saw some profile pictures. Should we say
it was
congratulations?
A virtual, yes, it was a virtual graduation,
Okay.
but we graduated yesterday officially.
Thank you. So we also extend our congratulations to you, Tsitsi, Kurai. There is a Nobel from Bulawayo, and I think Wimbai as well is part of that group, and Wazanai, if I'm not mistaken. So congratulations to all of you, and remember, it's not in the certificate, it's in the elevation of consciousness. So as you get these certificates, it's of no value. What is more important is the elevation of consciousness and being authentic in your leadership. Over to you, Mr. Emmanuel.
Thank you so much, Dr. Justin. Thank you so much. You've been great. Madam Nicole, thank you so much on behalf of the OLD network. Just to say thank you sometimes is not enough. But today I'm just going to say thank you so much for the very practical, inspiring, igniting conversation that you had with us here today. And to everyone who is part of us today, remember it's on a weekend. Most of us could be out there on a weekend doing whatever you are doing on a free time. But you decided, you know what, I'm not going to spend my time either going out there to have a drink there. I'm going to be part of this conversation. I celebrate you greatly. And let me remind you this. Information changes things. Change doesn't come when we're just sitting. It changes when we are taking action. Your actions today, your presence here today, are the things that will contribute to the future that we want to build as part of this community or whatever area you are engaged into. I want to say thank you so much for being here today. In Setswana, I would say ke a leboga or a leboga. Thank you so much. Great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, Nicole, over to you. Maybe the last words from Nicole, and then you can close it up.
Yeah, thank you all very much for your questions, for leaning into this dialogue, for your interest in authentic leadership. And I think I want to just add, build on to what you, Justine, were saying before about taking teams on the journey and not walking this path alone as a CEO. It has a huge ripple effect. When we coach leaders into authentic leaders, they not only become better leaders at a job, they become better fathers, they become better husbands, they become better people in their communities. And it wouldn't be the first time that a leader says me that his children gave him feedback that he is accessible again, that he changed, that they have their father back. And then if you think about what impact this has on those kids, on their relations, it's huge. So even if you think, if we coach one team in one company, we impact the whole organization, but we also impact all the families of these people and their kids. So if you think of this rippling out effect, it's all worthwhile doing the job. And for me, this is one of the most fulfilling things of coaching. One team at a time makes a big difference. And yeah. So thank you all. I look forward to hearing about all of your experiences and the journeys that you will start and continue and engage many more people on.
Yes, just maybe, how do we enroll? We have members, we have a community of members here. How do we enroll for the Nicole Heimann coaching program? And what will be expected if we are to mobilize some of members who would want to be part of that?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you mean to become a partner in the company?
No, for coaching of the members, a coaching program that you are running.
Yeah, so most of our coaching is internal in companies. So I would say just reach out to me and contact me, write me an email, nh@nicoleheimann.com, and then we can talk about what your needs are, what you are envisioning, how you want to make a difference, and then see how we can work out something that works. We don't have open enrollment programs. So all our work is internal work in companies with leadership teams. Yeah, but I am building up a team with partners who want to work with the Leadership Alliance culture model and concept of developing authentic leadership in integrating the 7 dimensions. And so if you want to talk about that, then please send me an email, reach out, and yeah, let's talk and see how that can work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. That is great. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Nicole. We wish you a very great weekend. You shared your email address, and I think we'll all be in touch at different platforms, and even ask you to come and speak to us at other platforms. So thank you. It's been insightful. We will continue to work on breaking down those walls that we have and to be better. And I think what we'll take away from this is that little percentage that we can do to change, it makes all the difference. And I think if you start small, it will make all the difference. And we thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing, and continue to do it and encourage people and never fail. I think as Dr. Justin said, that he's been bothering you since 2008. So you're a very open person, and we hope to keep engaging with you.
Absolutely, I would love that. You're a beautiful community.
Thank you.
You. Okay, then off into the weekend.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Colleagues, you can all see your faces one more time. Have a great weekend. Please do say something.
Sorry, I lost my connection. But for me, thank you because Dr. Justin asked me to come to this meeting, and I'm glad that I shared something to you guys. And it was a wonderful experience with Miss Nicole and the others. I just want to share this because in my report, I saw this from Oprah. She said, "Is the greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change he or she future by merely changing his attitude." It really impacts me this much. It's because if you don't change your attitude, if you don't change your perspective in your ways, you won't be called as a successful or a changed person or a great leader. So yeah, that's all I just want to share it. And thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you,
All right
everybody.
then. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Nicole. We will engage through emails. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.